Welcome to the Monday Minute of the Hunt Backcountry podcast and happy Memorial Day. We are pre-scheduling this one, but definitely can't miss two in a row. We missed last week's Monday Minute, just getting back from the bear hunt. So it's good to be back at it, Steve.
I actually saw like multiple messages here and there, posts of like, "Hey, what happened to the Monday Minute?" Like it's cool that people are so used to expecting the consistency and used to listening to it that I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah, it was cool. Well, Memorial Day, hopefully everybody's having a kind of an enjoyable day with friends and family and obviously keeping in mind what this is actually all about. So you and I both chat offline, Steve, about how noisy it is, and it's like mattresses are on sale and everything else, which is gets annoying because it does just create a distraction from what this holiday should be for.
yeah, absolutely.
Jumping into Monday Minute, we'll get to some listener questions. There's also just, as always, I feel like we keep seeing this every time, but it never feels less. There's a ton going on. One of the things that is timely from an EXO perspective is we have multicam packs available until June 1. So basically, you'd have to pre-order this week. If you heard of our recent multicam sale, that was specific to K4 3600s because we basically had leftovers from a military order. But Steve, tell us why we have multicam on a pre-order basis, but this time with all pack models again.
Yeah, essentially we did that. We had the leftover packs from the military run, and once we sold those out pretty quickly, and then we just had enough people requesting, like, "Hey, can I get one? Can I get one?" And definitely, like, my perspective now that we own the sew shop control, like being able to do smaller runs like this is certainly just much easier to execute and do. And we had enough requests that was like, "Hey, let's just do it. We can." I think Jake was asking me one day in the office of like, "Hey, do you think we're gonna have more of those at some point?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Next time a military order comes in." And then the more I thought about it, I was like, we could just do it. So because there was enough people that he was like already putting on a list of in case in the future that it's like, well, we'll just email them and open it up. And so we're letting it run for a couple weeks, and then we will produce them and ship them out as fast as we can. So goals to things like this are we can do them out of the busy season, but the goal is to have these completely, ordered, built, shipped before July hits. Because once it's basically that first Monday after the 4th of July, all hell breaks loose for us. there's
Hmm.
there's not enough hours in the day period to get everything done. So
We'll leave a link in the show description if you want to check those out. It's complete pack systems and bag only options. So if you already have a K4 frame and you're thinking of a different bag size, you just want a multicam bag, we are offering that as well. Again, you have to order by June 1. That's when everything closes. And as you said, Steve, looking like shipping in early July. So all that information is at the link. And as always, let us know if you have any questions. Another update is the garage sale. We mentioned it previously on the podcast. We were hoping to have it happen actually a week or two ago in May, and basically had to push that. So June 20th is the garage sale slash open house at XO HQ. Um, it'll be not only us selling some like used gear, there's other companies coming, Argali, Night Force, and a couple others. We're going to have some raffles, some prizes, some food. So whether you want to, look at gear and get a deal, or you just want to come kind of like hang out, it'd be great to have you guys. All that info, we have a web page built for it, Jake put together. So you can get that with, again, timing, and it would be incredibly helpful to RSVP. So at that link also is a quick form to RSVP. We're just trying to get as much of that known in terms of attendance so that we can plan food and things like that. So again, check out that link in the show description as well. There may even be a bunch of like Steve Speck personal garage sale going on.
I'm like, well, I'm gonna do like $5 grab bins, and it's gonna be like a $300 pair of boot in there. Like, Yeah, when I was obviously talking about just moved into this new house and through that, like going through my stuff. I mean, I have like 25 headlamps in a bin, just, I mean, 90% of them were probably given to me free, just acquired a bunch of stuff. And it's like, I just need to give this away or we're going to sell it for super, super cheap. So yeah, I'm going to have a whole pile of crap there, rain gear and boots and headlamps and stoves and just stuff I just more or less trying to just give away. And let's hopefully, put it in a good home, somebody put it to use versus just sitting in a bin in my garage.
One more kind of news-ish item, and then we'll get to some listener questions, is a GoFundMe that was put together for Rob McConnell. Um, Rob basically runs SNS Archery, which you own, Steve, as like your first business before EXO. And years ago, you brought Rob on, and he really runs the day-to-day there. And he's facing a cancer battle that is looking like something he can and will conquer for sure, but obviously could incur some time away from work and medical expenses and all that stuff. So we have a GoFundMe going for him. We can leave a link to that. Uh, Basically, we're just doing it to, I mean, Rob's such a great guy, has helped a ton of people, has been involved in the industry, and I'm sure a lot of people listen to this podcast. If you bought anything from SNS, you probably talked with Rob. Yeah, it's just something that we wanted to put together to help him and his family.
Yeah, we just want to help support Rob. So, I mean, Rob's I guess he was my second employee. My sister was my first. But he came on to 2016. I'm simultaneously running EXO and SNS Archery, like customer service, shipping. I'm just doing almost everything. I know my sister was there at the time too, helping. And uh, basically, EXO was just taking off like a freaking weed. And I was like, I just can't sustain this. This is not doable. And I had known Rob for a long time. He'd been a customer of SNS, a customer of EXO, and I don't know exactly. My memory's always so fuzzy, but I had reached out and said, "Hey, Rob, I need someone to help run an SNS, and I know you have a tech background." And we sat down. We met at oh, where did we meet? The Ram restaurant. I remember that, and basically, I just went through like kind of a proposal, and he started working for me right away, and really was. I mean, he's just been absolutely fantastic for all these years. He just runs SNS incredibly well, and also really helped the early days of EXO, and that SNS was my baby, right? And he just did it so well running it that I was able to like not have to stress about that or even think about it. I was able to just focus on EXO. So I attribute a lot of our early success to definitely Rob's ability to come in and just start helping with SNS. So a couple of weeks ago, I guess it's been probably 4 or 5 now, that noticed a lump in his throat and went and got it checked out, and it's cancerous. And he just started chemo and radiation, and he plans to work through it all as much as he possibly can. But they just don't know how much it'll affect him if he's got to stay home and not be able to come into the office for a while, and definitely just there's a as you can imagine, there's a lot of medical expenses. So we just wanted to create this for him to just help out. It's there's just a lot of stress and things going on. And my dad got sick a few years back, and an old friend of his created a GoFundMe, and it was just really, really helpful for the family to have that and not have to stress about the money side. So created the GoFundMe. If Rob's ever helped you out or you appreciate him, would seriously thank you for helping out in any way you can.
Well, that link and again, the others we already mentioned all be in the show description to go check out. Yeah, and thanks for all the support with that. First listener question. I you don't know this is coming, Steve. I saw it come through email and had to laugh immediately, and you'll see why in a second. As I mentioned, we were just on the bear hunt 2 weeks ago, as of the time this podcast is coming out. This question came through from Matt. In the past, you had mentioned using a micro pump to inflate your air pad at camp. I found one and it has been super light, and I feel like it's worth the small weight penalty. I'm about to go on my first spring bear hunt, and I got to thinking, this little thing is very loud and has a high-pitched noise. will that be an issue on the hunt? Could it scare bears off? Or maybe it will call them in. And then he asked, is your pump loud? And do you have any thoughts or suggestions? Steve, at this point, I feel like I pack this micro pump in part just to make you mad.
Just
And
to
it
piss
works
me
every
off.
time.
Uh,
It's
is it really that hard to blow up your pad? I just don't get it. Like people dread it, and it's like it's like tying your shoes. It just takes 30 seconds and it's done. Like I don't get it. Why to me something so simple should not be worth even if it's 1 ounce, it's still like one more thing on your gear list, still one more battery to charge, one more thing to maintain, keep track of. Like, no, it's just use your damn mouth. Be a man.
the number of
Pack
times
it.
we've been on a group hunt too, and I'll get it out and inflate my pad and then pass it around to everyone in camp except for Steve is awesome. At this point, it's
Uh,
fun.
Start packing Midol for you.
Um, to get to Matt's question, I have the Flextail Zero pump. I can leave a link to that if people don't know what we're talking about. It is loud. It is not a concern. I mean, Steve's much more loud and complaining about it when I'm using it than the pad pump is actually making noise. So Steve is more of a deterrent to hunting success than the pump itself. But yeah, it is high pitched. Makes a little noise, but yeah, I mean, maybe if I knew I was like camping on elk or something, it would be a factor. But at the same time, I just think about human presence in general. And yes, it can matter in certain contexts. But if you're thinking about this, you also need to be thinking about every sound you make, zippers, talking, just all the things, right? Like wrestling with wrappers. I mean, you're making noise in general. So I wouldn't isolate any one thing and just say, if you're concerned with noise, you need to treat that like very cohesively and think through all the noise you're making and not isolate this one little thing. So it is an item that I honestly do agree with you, Steve. If it's not a big deal, I tend to take it on group hunts and pass it around because it does make it more sense at that point. Um, and just more casual hunts. I was thinking about that even with this bear hunt of when we were going in, we're going in basically for 4 days and knowing the area and knowing the hike in, and it was an easy hike in there. Is there's just a difference between a hunt like that and the 10-day sheep hunt I did in Alaska. I do make different decisions, like in small ways, with different
Mhm.
times of whether it's packing something like this, whether it is vacuum sealing all of my food. I mean, there's just a lot of little nuanced decisions that some hunts I care a lot about and some hunts I don't care about. But in general, we're talking about just little nuanced things for sure.
Yeah, that was it. We I obviously had been just stupid busy leading up to that hunt, and I guess we talked about this in the bear hunt recap podcast. But we this the I don't say the carelessness in which I just kind of like you're in town, we swing by Albertsons, I just kind of like walk up and down the aisles real quick, just grab a bunch of crap, like yeah, that'll work. Literally threw like whole bags of like stuff I would never do on.
Yeah, we were sitting in camp and you take out a whole bag of granola and just like rip the top off and start throwing it down the hatch.
Yeah. Like so years past, like I think you made the comment, like I would have planned and prepped so much for this, you talking about yourself and I obviously included like those first few backpack hunts or the early days, you just obsessed about everything and packed all your gear the week before and checked all your items and now I don't know, I just maybe just through experience of like, whatever, like I got everything I need, I'm good, it's not perfect versus I'm going on we're going back up to Alaska, say again on the caribou hunt, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's when I'm getting serious about my gear and really packing well and efficiently and going through each food, making sure I got exactly enough calories, but not too many. That's just take it to a whole different level.
Speaking of gear, I just realized I shared my gear list from this hunt. If guys just want to check that out, that came out. Yeah, I don't think we have mentioned that on the podcast. Oh, we mentioned on the bear recap. Never mind. I'm losing my mind. So
Mm.
that's out there. And then coming up in a couple days, as of this podcast is being released, we'll have a video and a podcast all about loading your pack for multi-day hunts. So we filmed that on this hunt. You'll see all Steve's gear because you were the one filming this, and you go from, I mean, literally we were in camp and we were getting ready to pack out. So it's a true scenario of here's everything Steve has, how he packed it in his pack, and how he hit the road. So whether you just want to see that gear or more importantly, I think the kind of the lessons or strategies for how to pack well, like where things go and why, how to make the most use of space. All that's coming here real soon. So I can't share a link to it. It's not out yet, but it's going to be out here within just a couple days of this podcast. This question came through from Nathan. He said, "Hey guys, I've been listening to the Death Hike recaps from 24 and 25, and you've really inspired me to attempt the R3 next year." So R3 is rim to
Nice.
rim to rim in the Grand Canyon. He says, "I feel like I'm missing it somewhere, but is there a gear list from either of those hikes? I'm curious what you guys brought." I think we mentioned this in passing, but probably didn't say enough, Steve. There's no gear list because there's kind of no gear.
There's no gear. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tape and food.
Yeah.
That's kind of your gear. Yeah. I mean, really nothing. It's basically wore the backpack, food, Nalgene, water filter, headlamp, excuse me, um, inReach, tape. I mean, stuff to take care of your feet. So tape, uh, monkey butt
Voltaren.
powder, Voltaren, uh, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's truly all there is to it.
Yeah. No, because you're not stopping, you're not camping. You literally just need enough to stay hydrated, take care of your feet, and enough fuel for your body to get there and back.
Yeah.
And socks. So I threw in I had two extra pairs of socks, obviously.
Yeah, clothing's the only thing that um, you'd make some decisions on depending on the conditions. Um, in 2024, it was colder when we started. You had more guys with it starting in some sort of layers. This year in 2025, it was not as cool. We still had guys starting in some layers, but um, and then just from a safety perspective, like choose what is uh comfortable and wise for you in terms of if you think you may get stuck in the canyon. Do you want like an emergency bivy or do you want some puffy layers, that type of thing? So don't be reckless there, but also definitely don't feel like you need to pack up or layer up by any means. You're going to be hiking, you're going to be warm. If you're not planning on stopping, and you're just taking quick breaks, which is our approach, you just really don't need much. So the only thing, I mean, I basically started with yeah, just shorts and a sun hoodie and had I think the Outdoor Vitals prototype active mid layer. And then I think I ended up throwing like a light windbreaker. I'm talking like a 3 ounce windbreaker in the pack. That's one thing that it, it could be helpful is if you're coming out real late at night, especially if you're coming up South Kaibab, it is pretty exposed and can be really windy. And if you happen to be moving really slow, you may not be putting out enough effort to stay warm, especially if you're like already wet and sweaty. So it can cool off, but you definitely don't need like a bunch of insulation. Just a super light windbreak or really light fleece, maybe something like that. But again, the safety perspective, if you think you may get stuck in the canyon, I mean, there definitely is a possibility of rolling an ankle or screwing up your knee and having to be stationary for a while. There's definitely a safety aspect to maybe an e-bivy or some sort of layers.
I was laughing because I was like, I didn't pack anything last year or this year. There just my no extra clothes in my pack, just my sun hoodie that it was on me. But I did uh, borrow your windbreaker there at the very top when we
Oh
got
yeah,
out.
that was nice,
Yeah.
wasn't it? See?
Yeah, it was super
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
packing that the
You're never
50
gonna
miles for me.
borrow my air pump, but I'll let you borrow my windbreaker. This question came through from Matt. It's pack related, it's EXO related, but I want to extrapolate this outside of just our packs and just make sure it's helpful for people in general. Matt says, I own both a K3 and a K4 frame, and I've had an issue that I'd love some help with. When I place a load between the bag and the frame, my lower back hurts at times. But if I place the load inside the top half of the bag, my back is fine. He said I prefer to place the meat between the bag and the frame, but it always seems to end up at the bottom of the V. So he's talking about like the V that's created between the bag and the frame, that shape. He says, and that's when my back hurts. Do you have any suggestions to how I might strap the meat between the bag and the frame so that it does not sink more than halfway down the pack? So this is a difficult question to
Yeah,
answer.
as I say, this is one where I would love to be like with this guy on the mountain and just
Yep.
load it up, and he would have zero issues. The meat should never slide down or sink. Like I've just never seen that, so I just don't know how that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you simply just, I've just never had that issue. You just put it on the frame. You can crisscross the straps. If you really wanted to hold it up high, I would crisscross the straps so that instead of going directly across the frame, you go up and then, at an angle to the other one. So you're forming an X with the straps, and you could kind of use that to grab around the bottom of the meat. But even without that, you just put the meat on the frame, sandwich it down, and then when you put the bag up there and pull those compression straps tight into it, it just the meat can't go anywhere. Why? I'd love, again, I'd love to see. He must just something with his lower back and the way the lumbar pad's sitting. He just doesn't like that extra pressure. So I could understand that. I would have the guy reach out and probably send him one of our softer lumbar pads. So if that pressure's too much for him, we want to back off of that and go to a light, kind of a yeah, we call it the white foam lumbar pad, but it's just softer, and that would probably help alleviate some of the pressure he's feeling there. Because you do, in general, I want some weight, so you need some resistance against the back of the lumbar pad because you need something pushing back against it. Otherwise, as you're tightening up the belt, if there's no resistance to it, then that lumbar pad just kind of pushes away from you, right? You need it actually pushing in and grabbing into your lower back.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, there's we get these, every couple months. There's like one guy that Jake's dealing with in customer service that's just struggling to fit or load the pack, and I was just like, I wish I could just have a private jet and fly around. Like, all right, I'm gonna be at your house in an hour. We'll get this fixed. Like in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, definitely the big things to highlight is this could be a fit issue, meaning how you're putting the pack on, how you're wearing the pack, and or it could be how the pack is loaded.
Hmm.
It's really, again, without seeing this, like Matt is placing all of this on the position of the load, which is very true. It's critical. How that load is positioned is critical, but it's also important to understand that that could be part of what's going on and not everything. There could be something else with how he's wearing the pack, how he's fitted the pack, being, yeah, just there's quite a bit there. So if it's our pack and it's us, reach out to us directly. Um, we one will have helpful videos on loading. So if you haven't seen those, we'll leave links to those on how to. We actually just did one with the bear, for example. Loading boned out meat and hide with the bear. That'd be a great one to check out. We have another one from previous hunts. So check out those links, check out our fitting stuff, and then just reach out to us. Going back to what you said, Steve, it's usually really easy to get people dialed in. This whole idea of, man, we wish we could fly there. We obviously can't, but what we can do, we were just doing this last week, I mean, we hop on FaceTime with customers who are really struggling, or, it's like difficult for them to communicate what's going on by email or by photos. So that's something we do as well with our customers. So if just for anybody, one, if you don't have our pack, like I think you can still learn something by our videos and translate it to what you're doing. But if you're our customer, if you have an EXO pack and you're dealing with anything like this, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. Like we want to get you guys dialed in and get you taken care of, and you shouldn't have an issue like this. So let's get it solved. Okay, let's wrap up with this one, the ever ever ongoing topic of footwear, Steve.
Hmm.
Just recently, there's been numerous comments, emails, questions, etc., really pointing back to the footwear video that you did as part of the experience project.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll leave links to that if people haven't seen it. But basically, again, there's been numerous comments, questions, emails, people wanting an update to that and or to know if there's been anything we've tried or would add to, I guess, like what was shared in the video, or just new stuff that we've tried in terms of footwear. Um, so I know that that's open-ended, but I've seen enough interest on it that it's like, hey, is basically everything
Mm.
in that video still conclusive for you, or do you still feel like there's other things you're trying? Just were any updates on footwear now that
No, that video's really when you like recording it in the moment, I felt like, I missed this and that, and then I ended up going back and watching part of it because somebody sent me a question. I wanted to go verify like what I said in the video, and um it's pretty dang like covers the topic really, really well. And at least like, I highly encourage anyone if you don't have just completely happy feet, go watch that video. And whether it's I can't remember how long it is, 30 minutes or something, but whether you take one little tiny tidbit out of it about matching the sock and the insole, and just a bunch of little tips. There's a lot of information in there, and really for me, 15, 20 years of like backpacking and hiking with heavy weights and just experience built into that, where I'm very critical and analytical of what's going on and just things to pay attention to. One of the tips that I really like is when you're doing a training hike and you're trying to find something like al always have like if you get new insoles and you're debating, do I like these or not? Like run your old one on the left shoe and your new one on the right shoe, right? And you'll figure it out. And it's super interesting because we do what I call the sheep training hike, and I'll do like the first mile of it, like, oh, the left side feels better. And by the end of it, it flips 180 degrees. Like, oh my gosh, okay, nope. The insole on the right side is way, way better. Whether it's like the different textures of insoles can create friction, which then can create heat, but also a little bit of friction's good because your foot's not sliding around inside. And different socks, just the slightly thicker, like almost imperceivably thicker sock, like Darn Tough makes lots of different ones that I talk about. Um, can have a huge impact on. Maybe you don't feel it. You would never feel these things if you just put the pack on and hiked in your flat neighborhood on concrete. Like, not going to happen. You got to be replicating what a mountain hunt is like with, side hill, downhill, uphill, all these things where your foot is actually like sliding around and your heels lifting and your toes are jamming into the front of the shoe and things like that. So yeah, if you're obsessed as I am, watch that video and there's definitely some good takeaways. As far as any new specific shoe, no, I'd mentioned that La Sportiva shoe that Brigham actually sent me from Outdoor Vitals. He got and said, "Hey, I'm really liking these," and I ordered a pair. They look kind of promising. Um, and there was a SHOT Show. I believe it was Loa was coming out with a boot that
oh,
they
that's
built
right.
for
I
like
forgot
their
about that.
tactical line. I stumbled on that photo the other day, and I'm curious to look at that further when it comes. It's supposed to come out this summer. But yeah, I've got when we just went. Somebody asked what shoes I was wearing in the bear hunt video, and that Plasma Technica is the company. Plasma was the shoe, and unfortunately, they stopped making it. I have a couple pairs of those things, and they are the shining example of that a lightweight, flexible synthetic shoe can also be highly durable and waterproof. Like to this day, the one pair I was wearing has a lot of hunts in Alaska with a lot of miles, and we had some wet that first day bear hunting there that was really, really wet, and my feet stayed completely dry. So pretty impressive. That unicorn shoe can exist if a company's dedicated to making it. But I just haven't found it yet. Someone's gonna make it, or maybe it already exists of like the Prana Stretch Zion that just works with everybody. Like Solomon, pretty close with their what are those ones?
Quests.
Quest 3D. Yeah, like that's a shoe that works for a lot of people, but it just is 50-50 on durability, and then the waterproofness is garbage. Like just you walk through wet grass in the morning in your backyard and your feet are wet. So yeah, so there's somebody will make it. It'll come along where it's like, yep, like 90% of you guys, this is the shoe I would buy, and maybe try this insole or that insole depending on your foot shape and your arch and yeah,
Hmm.
but haven't found that unicorn yet.
Yeah. Somebody sent me a question recently about the Hanwag Alverstones because I've, worn those and
Hmm.
talked about them, and then somewhat recently, I feel like this was maybe in March, February, March, something like that. Hanwag did a big sale on their website, just period. It wasn't just on the Alverstones, it was on a bunch of stuff. And someone was just this week asking me if they were being discontinued, or, if they knew the reason for the sale, etc. And I didn't know anything. And I did a quick search, and actually something from Rockslide popped up as I searched Google. And someone on Rockslide had reached out to Hanwag, and basically the response was they're closing out a bunch of models and clearing out inventory because of a new version of what they said was a new version of Gore-Tex.
Huh.
And so what was interesting is I think this all just ties to the PFAS stuff and regulations, and that Hanwag was
Oh.
sitting on a bunch of Gore-Tex that wasn't PFAS free. And with the regulatory changes, they're having to move to something that is. Um, Again, they didn't spell that out. They just said a new version of our models, or a new version of Gore-Tex will be coming out with across our boot line, essentially.
Hmm.
So reading between the lines, I think it has to do with that PFAS regulation, which, we've mentioned with rain gear and other apparel items, but I didn't think about that so much with footwear, the PFAS stuff.
Interesting.
Ever evolving discussion with footwear, of course. Yeah, if we find something that is exciting, we'll definitely talk about it. That's a wrap for today. I feel like we had a ton of mentions of different things, links, so go check that out. Whether it's the gear stuff, Rob's GoFundMe, the Multicam sale by June 1, just there's a lot there. Thanks as always, guys, for tuning in. We say it all the time, but if you're lurking and haven't done it, if you have a question for us, send an email to podcast@exomountaingear.com. We'll get that answered on a future Monday Minute, or maybe it inspires a whole new guest or topic or full length episode. So let us know what you want to hear. Thanks as always for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon.